All right, so yeah, so let's go ahead and jump into it.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Galen Keene. I am joining you from Las Vegas, Nevada today at the Power Platform Conference, and happy to be here. Happy to be presenting at this show today. I am from California. I live in Southern California, and I own Lion Tech, a company that provides professional services across the modern workplace, Power Platform, and I'm also a co-owner and engineer of Emperor Media Group, a company that specializes in event production. That's what we're doing here today at the Power Platform Conference, and that is a passion, event production, taking meetings to the next level, leveraging VR and Microsoft Mesh, a passion and a cool passion to have as a company, and happy to be a co-owner of that. I'm also the president of the San Diego Microsoft 365 Productivity Group. That's a mouthful. And we meet monthly. We have a meetup group. We'd love for you to join. All of our meetings are virtual, so please join our group. Check out our meetings. You can find me on LinkedIn, learn more about all of these things, and I hope to connect with you in the socials at a user group meeting. And I'm looking forward to the session today. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we even had a meeting yesterday, so
That's
had
right.
really good time. So, all right, so my name is Ryan Schouten. Like Galen, I live in Southern California. I've been working in the SharePoint space for just a few years now. I have my own consulting company, Mahay Consulting, and I also am a partner with Galen on Embark Media Group. So we're just here, happy to be helping people understand how technology and the meetings can benefit them and make people's lives easier by taking advantage of the technology that's been provided to us. So happy to be here today. All right, so I think what we're talking about kind of just high level. Let's lay the field. What we're going to be talking about today. So we got 45 minutes. So there's some spots we're going to have to rush through, and other spots we'll be able to spend a little more time. I know we do have on here Q&A at the end, which we'll pause for that for a little bit. But also, Galen or I will be sitting here monitoring while the others go through the content. So that way, if there are questions that come in, we can address those as we're going through as well. So go ahead, if you have questions, go ahead and feel free to put those in the chat. So we're going to start out by talking about what Microsoft Mesh is. There's a lot of different areas and places and pieces that come into play with it. Then we're going to talk a little bit about who can use Mesh, and then we got some demos we're going to run through, which I think for the most part, demos are going to be a large chunk of this presentation. So it'll be a lot of cool stuff going on there. Then we have some pro tips, just things as you're going through it, some things to keep in mind as you're going through with these.
Yeah, and if you have questions, definitely bring them up as we load some screens for the demos. They take a little longer to load now than they used to. So please, timely opportunities to ask questions.
Exactly. So one of the first things starting out, because when we talk about Mesh, Microsoft Mesh has enabled a lot of functionality, and there's a couple of key areas when we're talking about Mesh. The first one is the immersive 3D space that's available inside Teams, so which is a really cool space, which allows you to be able, as we have the screenshot on the right here, allows you to be able to have a virtual gathering. You can even take your existing Teams meetings and just hit the toggle, excuse me, and switch over to an event. And it's a 3D space that everybody's there. You get a lot of really cool benefits with it. And you also have, in addition to that, there are actual dedicated Microsoft Mesh events that are enhanced and built on even further. So that way, the Teams meetings allow you kind of to jump in quickly. You get a predefined space. For the most part, you don't really need anything special. Microsoft's making this more and more available just to everybody. A lot of work is going into making sure that everybody can participate in these spaces. Then with Microsoft Mesh, that requires the Mesh app. At the moment, Microsoft has announced they're making some changes, so that's no longer going to be the case in the future. If you're in the TAP program, they're including and pulling a lot of that functionality that you used to have a separate app for, and we'll look at the app today. You used to have that on your machine and to be able to participate in these. So this is a lot of really good work going into these things. But the beauty of it is with these spaces, it's taking advantage of the avatars that you may already have configured inside Microsoft Teams. So that way, something that's already there, it's already in your tenant, and it's your representation of yourself. So you have the ability to do a lot of cool things with your avatar. But then as well, you have the cool thing that's with this is they have spatial audio and audio zones. And what that means is you are able to hear in 3D space what's going on. So if somebody's having a conversation off to your right, you will hear the conversation coming from the right. If there's somebody's on the left, so on and so forth. But also, as people are further away from you, they also sound further away. Their volume is less, just like as if you were in a real physical space. And then there's also the concept of audio zones where inside, especially when you're inside a Teams meeting, they have the audio zone, the screen share zone, that everybody that's in that zone talking will be able to be heard in the meeting. And then they have zones outside of that you can get into as well. And then we have some interactive activities, some games and things that you can play that are especially in the, they come out of the box in some of the spaces for the immersive meetings. We also include Microsoft also included different options. So you can have different sizes based off the number of people you're planning on. And you can also have different seating arrangements that you can change out. They have a couple that Microsoft's added in some different environments. As Galen had mentioned, these environments take sometimes a long time to load. So you do have to kind of be patient as that's doing its thing. So we're not going to really demo a lot of that today, just due to sake of time, because those do take a little bit to process. So, all right.
What's pretty neat, though, is just to highlight some of these immersive experiences with immersive spaces available in Teams. We can be at a hotel, separated by, thousands of miles, join each other through a Teams meeting on our 2D devices and participate in a very interactive experience. So this definitely brings it forward, democratizes that technology, and decreases the space between us, so to speak.
Yeah, one of the questions we get a lot as we're going through this as well is, that comes in handy like with these spaces, and kind of go back to I just thought as we're going through it, because we have had people ask this question before, is can we do breakouts? And we'll kind of look into some of the functionality and talk about it as we get into the space. But with these actual physical spaces and the spatial audio and the audio zone, it becomes the need for an actual breakout itself comes less, because you can actually separate and have separate conversations without necessarily having to leave a meeting and go someplace else. So everybody's kind of in those views. So a lot of really cool stuff here.
So maybe as a foundation, and as we move forward throughout the session, think about how you interact when you are in the office. If you go back to the office now, and how you might have, one larger conference room or kind of training center, and how you might break out into separate groups, either in that space or into separate conference rooms. And, what is your audience? What is your activities that day? Are they more physical in nature? So, maybe you're wearing more casual clothes, or is this a meeting with the executives and you need to come, prepared for that type of meeting? Your avatar is the digital representation of yourself. So definitely take some time with your avatar. We'll talk momentarily about how that process has sped up recently. But, even thinking about avatars and some of the conversations and comments that I've heard, it's like, how do I want my avatar to look? I want my avatar to look the way I want to look, maybe not necessarily how I look. Just all of those kind of things, right? So let's move forward. Let's check it out. What's next here?
Next is a video. Maybe. Maybe it'll play. Come on.
Sometimes hybrid meetings can feel a little impersonal.
Hello?
Avatars for Microsoft Teams gives people the choice to show up how they want, helping them feel more comfortable and included. But can we take digital presence a step further?
Just a minute.
Immersive spaces for teams help interactions feel more engaging, more connected, and more natural.
Great job, Miriam.
Yeah, nice presentation.
But what if we could take it even further by building a custom immersive experience just for your organization? Microsoft Mesh elevates orientations, trainings, and employee experiences by transcending time and space. No matter where you are, you can come together in one place. Connect like never before with Microsoft Teams and Microsoft Mesh.
Very cool. So in that video, you saw what we were talking about, that, you know, your avatar is the digital representation of yourself. Maybe, you know, what you want to look like versus what you look like. You know, and so spend some time creating an avatar. That's the first step, I think, in taking the steps into this digital space. And remember that to use immersive spaces available in Teams meetings, no special licensing required. If you have a Teams license and you're in a Teams meeting, great, you're ready to go. There is one constraint, and that it's only for internal users. External users can still join the meeting. They can still participate in the discussion. However, they can't participate in the 3D view of this, and we'll showcase this in just a moment. So, like I said, external users can still join the meeting just like they can any other Teams meeting, just not the immersive space. The Microsoft Mesh app, where you can have a larger, like, planned space to meet in, where we might add specific components like images or videos or screen sharing capabilities to specific locations within the space. Those capabilities require a Teams premium license. And as Ryan indicated, the Mesh app is required. That's going away, where we will be able to join and even customize meetings that we're holding in Mesh from within the Teams app, but that capability has not yet rolled out. So the Microsoft Mesh app allows you to go in, schedule a Mesh meeting, go into that meeting before the meeting occurs to customize it and get it ready for the meeting. The analogy is hey, you're going to throw a party. You have the space. It's all ready to go. You need to go decorate that space. For a party, you don't wait for your guests to arrive before you decorate. Likewise, for your meeting, go ahead and get your space customized. Once your attendees begin to join the meeting, you can no longer customize it. So that Mesh app is required to do all of that right now. And again, same constraint, internal users only for those Mesh meetings. Supported devices include PCs, MetaQuest devices, and guess what? Now you can use your Apple devices as well. So that's a new feature that's been added in the last couple months. It's a very, very sought after capability. So if you have a Mac, you can use it. Yeah, very cool.
All right. So yeah, one of the things when we're looking at it, you even can see on the screenshot, because it shows it better than what Galen and I can demo in there, is we have, this is kind of one of the spaces available to us, whether you're in an immersive space within Teams or if you're in Mesh. You have the ability to do this in similar small, this, they call this the Oasis. But you can see there is a screen share functionality. And this particular one, since it's in a Teams meeting, you can see across the bottom here, there are other attendees in the meeting, and these are attendees that are still in the Teams meeting portion and not in the immersive space. So consider these would be people that are participating that don't want to join the 3D immersive space, or at the moment, as Galen mentioned, in the case of external users that are joining a meeting that can't yet. Microsoft's working on it, but we don't have that just yet. That allows them to be able to join and still participate, and their camera will show up underneath there, so that way they can still be seen, they can be interact, just as if they were in the meeting, just not in an actual 3D immersive space.
And at the bottom of the screen there, you'll see what it looks like if you attempt to join a mesh meeting and you do not have a Teams premium license.
Yep, exactly. And that's coming from the actual Microsoft Mesh app itself. So, and one thing to keep in mind is if you're using it on the Quest headset, any of the Meta Quest headsets, there's also a Microsoft Mesh app, but that one does not require the Teams Premium necessarily. You can join a Teams meeting with that, but if you're joining the actual Microsoft Mesh events, then those do require a Teams Premium license. So just one of those things to keep in mind, all the extra processing resources that come with that. But as Galen mentioned, one of the cool things is you have your kind of both mindsets here. You have the, hey, we need to have a meeting. I want a pre-configured, predefined space. My party is already ready. I'm going out to a party venue. It's already ready to go. Teams Immersive Spaces gives you that. Whereas with the Microsoft Mesh, you have a lot more customization options. To the point of, as the video mentioned, you even have some fully customizable spaces with different things you can include in it. A lot of different artifacts if you want to go with a fully customizable space. So a lot of really cool stuff you can do. But yeah, you do need to go in and make sure you're setting up. Because as soon as somebody starts joining, your customization options now go poof, and you're locked in. Your party's started. So make sure you prep that beforehand. All right, so at this point, we're now going to get into the demo. So I'm going to bring this window over here. So this is just a Teams meeting. Galen and I are both in this meeting. I'm sitting here with my audio off, and then Galen's muted just because we don't need to get any feedback or reverberation since we're doing a Teams within a Teams meeting. So from here, we can all participate. We can have our meeting, nothing out of the ordinary. But we want to try and take advantage of the 3D immersive space. So if we come up to the top here and click on View, we have an option for Immersive Space 3D. So I'm going to go ahead and click this because this does take it a little bit to load. And you'll be able to see the process. So you can see you go loading up the Microsoft Mesh app within Teams to be able to power this immersive space. And then, like I said, it does take it a little while to load. So this is not something you want to do, last minute. It's going to take a little bit of prep.
And this is a new experience. This experience has recently been updated to include these new dialogue screens that advise you of where you are in the step of moving over into the immersive space. This is an updated experience, and I think you're going to see a lot of improvements throughout both the Teams immersive space experience and the Microsoft Mesh experience with respect to some of these dialogues that transition you from one state to the next. And as Ryan indicated, this takes, in my experience, it takes a little bit longer now with these additional but we're cruising right along, and just to make sure that you're all aware, we're on hotel Wi-Fi right now, so this is all happening pretty quickly. This is a great real-world experience of bridging the gap in the thousands of miles that separate us.
Yeah, even though at this point in time, Galen and I are probably only going to be separated by a few floors, but it's a good thing. But so now it's loaded. I know one of the things we've kind of, as we were prepping and preparing for this, it seems that there's a lot of caching that goes on as well. So if you're in these more regularly, they seem to start up a little faster. As you can see, I'm in the space now, and this is just all within Teams. So I can come in, I can look around. Since it's in 2D type controls, I can just click and drag, look different places. As you can see on the wall here, we can see Galen's picture showing up on the bottom. If Galen go ahead and unmutes from the meeting, we'll be able to see that status as well. And also, if his camera was on, his camera would replace just his profile picture there that's showing on the bottom. Also, we have this beautiful art piece that's sitting on the wall. As soon as we turn on screen sharing, that is in the immersive space. That is where the actual screen share will show up. So that way, everybody can see that space. So as we kind of look around here, we can see a little bit of the space. We have some seating areas that are part of the meeting here. And I can, as you see, as I put the mouse over it, it kind of shows an indicator that I can go and sit. We also have some seats clear over off on the sides. But you'll also notice, a little laggy this morning. Oh, Galen's in space. All right, I'm gonna go, there he is. For me, it's a little easier to move around with the keyboard than looks like my computer's struggling this morning. So as you can see, we can look around. Galen's standing over there with his avatar, and yep, he's able to wave. We can have different things going on. But as you can see as well, as we're sitting in here, one thing you'll notice, because this type of space, whether we're here or the Oasis, there's a visual indicator that's here that doesn't exist inside the actual Microsoft Mesh, and that is this little glowing purple border that we can kind of see around all of this space that goes all the way around here. So that border gives you the indication that this is what they call the screen share area. So inside an immersive space, that screen share area is what, if you are in that space, everybody that's in the meeting can hear you. If you leave that space, so for example, I'm just gonna move, after I get past the couch here, I'm just gonna move off to the side. And now we get a message saying, hey, I've left the screen share area. Participants inside in the area can no longer hear you. So if we were in the meeting and we had 2D participants that were still in the meeting, which as you can see, since Galen's now in the space, he's no longer underneath. But so Galen, since we're still fairly close, could probably still hear me, but what I say, people that are in the 2D space or the recording itself will not be picked up. So we have the ability to be able to say, okay, hey, we can have those separate conversations. And you can see there's a lot of space within the screen share area that we can take advantage of, but there's also spaces where we can come out. One of the things that, actually this should work since I have the audio on. You can see I'm kind of walking around. Even the avatar has the little strut, looks like it's walking. So it's like, okay, we got cool stuff. So now as I come over here, we can hear the music coming in from the radio that's here. Ooh, I can turn the mute radio off. Turn it back on again. But then also as I move away, the music gets quieter and quieter as I move away from it. So we have the ability, like I said, the spatial audio is a key part that just makes it feel more like a real meeting. So as we're able to jump in and be able to participate in different things. So I'm going to come back here back into the meeting space. We get the confirmation that, hey, you're back in, people can hear you. So really
you can hear the transition, the noise, that sound wall that you kind of walk through. You kind of walk through it. Now you're in that recording space.
Yeah. And then one last thing I was just talking about, hold on, the little space. What are you doing, computer? It's a little laggy here. So we have some options out here. So as you can see, I can jump, and I think I'm just going to do that just for grins and giggles. I'm going to jump out to this seat. I can see I'm now out of the area again, and Galen's off over here in the meeting. I am now sitting in the fire space area. We have there's some different things you can do. So like I can grab a marshmallow stick, and now I'm sitting here and I can pretend to roast a marshmallow. Or in this particular space, there's also some different games and activities that you can play and work with, which really a lot like these particular games, you're throwing a bag and trying to get into a hole. It works best when you're doing that with a headset where you actually have the controllers. You can throw it. Otherwise, it does get a little tricky. And then they also have, there's the a music space, you can kind of, as you're playing with the orbs there, they'll make space. They'll make some different sounds. But I'm going to go ahead and just kind of show you one of the things that we've got in here. So I can jump back, is there is a seating overview, which kind of shows you in the space what we have as predefined seats. So in here, we can see we have these seats across the side here, and then across the back here. And this little gray bar, it shows you where the actual screen share is. So just in relation, this here is this part over here. So I'm going to jump back over this space, and I'm going to come over here just so on the side near the screen. And now I'm back in the audio share area. And, oh, wow, let me take my marshmallow roaster with me. Oh, that's fun. All right, so we have some really cool stuff. I'm just going to go ahead and drop it now. So now I'm back in the
interesting. And what's pretty interesting about these is there's definitely been some improvements over the last couple months. One of which is protecting your own personal space, your avatar's space. So you can't just walk through another avatar. You do have to respect their space. And as we talk about these various spaces, we mentioned briefly earlier breakout rooms. And as you can see, in an area like this, we have one common space inside this boundary where Ryan and I are both currently located. And if we were recording this meeting, whatever's said in this space would be recorded. As you play back the recording, you're not going to see this immersive experience. That would be really cool. But you will not see that. However, you will hear all of the dialogue, and the transcript reflects what's being said. If you do need some breakout rooms, you can see you don't have to create a bunch of breakout rooms. There's enough areas within this space to support most breakout room requirements. Again, this is an immersive space out of a Teams meeting, so there is only one screen share, right, that Ryan's already showcased on that main wall, but you do have some seating arrangements over by the radio. You can turn that off and have a discussion. You can go by the fire, have a discussion, go play some cornhole down below, have a discussion, go over where those orbs are behind my avatar there, have a discussion. So there's a lot of places to meet, and then I'll come back to this primary spot to discuss, the kind of regroup as a full meeting attendee. So those seating charts are very specific to just this location, and like I said, this is all available right out of Teams, no special license required. There are several different new capabilities that are on offer. One of them is reactions. So there is a reaction menu button. You can see it in Ryan's interface. He's just clicked on it. The standard Teams meeting emojis are available, but as well, now there's all of the reactions. You saw me wave to Ryan earlier, and now you can do, DAP. You can do a whole host of different reactions, which make the avatar experience much more realistic. And we can change the environment that we're in. So as Ryan indicated, we're currently in the Oasis, but there are other environments available. And there's some new environments that have just rolled out, including the workshop, which is a pretty cool environment, especially if you're doing breakout rooms and you need several screen shares. I think there's like 4 specific rooms in this space, this workshop space, with screen share opportunities. So, and one main meeting space like the one we're currently in, that has like an amphitheater type seating arrangement located in it. So several different environments to choose from after you first arrive in this. And that loading experience that Ryan was showcasing when we launched the immersive space is the same type of experience that you have whenever you transition to different environments. So if we were to go to workshop, we'd have to wait for that environment to be downloaded to our laptop before we can then enter it. So think about that as you, you know, decide where you're going to go with respect to the immersive space itself. Everybody, especially if you're separated by thousands of miles with various network connection differences, might have a different experience in ultimately getting to your desired environment. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, and then when you change the environment, it changes it for everybody. So you're kind of forcing everybody to go through that loading process, as Galen mentioned. But we have a few different options that we had. We're currently in the lake house. We have the Oasis that we kind of showed in that one screenshot, both a large and a small. The small kind of has the similar space as the large, but there's a wall that blocks off here, whereas in the large, there's a extra space out the side, so that way you can have those breakouts. You can separate a little bit more. But yeah, like I said, we're not going to go through it too much, but you do have the options that way you can kind of separate, and in some of the larger spaces, be able to have those physical separation and breakouts as well. All right.
Yeah, for those of us that have been using this, the workshop is pretty cool, but it's also new, so we're like, wait, cool, a new place to go. But it is definitely provides 4 different spaces for you, and yeah. So let's talk about avatars, Ryan. I think this is a great time to go ahead and maybe show that Ryan's joined with an avatar, and if he clicks on that avatar icon, I think Ryan has a couple of other avatars that he's already customized, and so you can switch your avatar while in a meeting, which is pretty cool. And I know that they've made some improvements where we used to see sometimes a little bit of an experience where your avatar might not refresh or might not display correctly when you go in and change it while in a meeting.
Yeah, and you can kind of see I switched one to the other. This was can't really see the face too much, but this one was an early one with the mesh avatars. I had to kind of build out myself, whereas the other one has a little bit more updates. And this is one that's actually we created as we're kind of playing and verifying for our demos for this presentation. Some of the functionality Microsoft's got is they've added, and this is part of the team's avatar creator. So not anything that's specific to mesh. But you have the avatars and you can create them. But with your avatar, you can create the avatar from either your camera on your machine, or you can even just upload a picture and it'll generate a fairly close representation of what it sees in the picture or the recording. So this is kind of the one that was generated. Did throw on a jacket on it just to differentiate it, but Microsoft's also done a lot in the recent updates for avatars to give them even more options as far as clothing and dress and those sort of things. So that they also have the casual style clothing. So I can come in and I can say, hey, this is a more casual meeting. Or in a case I'm meeting with maybe some different clients, I can go with have a secondary avatar that's more business dressed. So that way it's okay, hey, I'm looking a little more prim, a little more proper. But as you noticed on the view there, yeah, close changing anything. We do get the option for 3 slots for avatars, so that way we can kind of change them up. But all right, I think this time, due to time, Galen, we probably ought to jump to the next one. So I'm not seeing any questions at this point in time. So
you can tell that we like this stuff. I mean, I feel like we could talk about this forever. We'll transition to mesh so that you can see the mesh space and everything. But I highly recommend, Ryan just showcased how quickly it is to get an avatar up and running that is very much representative of you based off of a photo. So definitely check it out if you haven't done that already.
Yep. All right. So I'm going to, before I get too far, I'm going to make this a little bigger.
I think what's important to just kind of remind you is that what Ryan's doing is Ryan's launched, or he has launched the Microsoft Mesh app, which is an app that you can download out of the store. And we've gone into the app and created or scheduled events, and that's what you see on screen. So happening right now is this demo meeting, and an upcoming meeting is one that we created so that we could kind of customize that space. Like I was saying, you want to customize your space before your attendees show, because once they show up, you can no longer customize it. And if you were in the Quest, you would see all of your meetings, whether they were mesh meetings or team meetings, it wouldn't matter. You'd see your calendar, right, and what's on it. When you're in the Mesh app, you just see the Mesh events that have been created and scheduled, and that's what you're currently looking at.
So I'm going to go ahead. Let's go ahead and I'll jump in the one real quick here, or just to show the view, and then we'll switch to the other one because we want to show the customization options as we get into it. Because as you can see, this is in Mesh. This is an environment that comes out of the box, but it's different than the ones that we get in the Teams Immersive space. Whereas the other one where we're going to demo customization, it's a similar space as what's in an immersive space inside Teams, so a similar environment. So we're going to go through that as well. But as you're coming in, you have the option, besides just choosing, okay, speakers, microphone, all that, you can also, before you jump in, you can choose which avatar you want to go into the meeting with. So you have an additional selection that you can choose there to be able to make sure that you're ready to go and join into that space. So I'm going to jump back just because we want to do this one. One of the differences is as well is if I just go ahead and I can hit join, then I'm in the space. But usually this one, we want to customize it first. And it's loading. As we can see, since this meeting is in the future, I have the option to customize on this one, which I don't have in the other one because it's already started. The party has already started. Anybody that's joining now is now late, so we can't really decorate at this point in time. I'll switch to my new one. All right, I'm just going to turn that off since we don't need it. All right, I'll jump in.
And so this is, again, downloading that space. We have already, when we scheduled the Mesh event, we selected the space that we are going to use, the environment that we are going to use. And there are opportunities for you to develop your own environments. When we played that video, we saw an environment where like there were some avatars and they were standing in front of a whiteboard, which is like a huge thing for me with a lot of the kind of the architecture and project planning work that I do. That whiteboard is crucial. And so they're all standing, that's all a custom environment that they've created and made available to their user community. Now, what Ryan has done is he's gone into this mesh space. We're in the Oasis, so I think I was speaking incorrectly earlier, calling the lake house the Oasis. This is the Oasis, and Ryan can go anywhere in this space and begin to customize it. You can see that there is a screen share there on the wall that's kind of preset already. That's very helpful. And there's some other things that Ryan can add. And he's just clicked on the menu buttons down below to begin to select what he'd like to add to the space. The new option is text, so he can, add a text box, type in anything he would like right there, and then move that text box to a specific location. So kind of think of this as signage, right? If you have a space and you want to move people around, you want to let them know where they're going or provide a greeting to them, this is one way to do it. And I think we're just beginning to see several improvements in this area with respect to capabilities and how you might customize an environment. The customization, just being able to position these components has improved tremendously.
Yeah, like even though it's kind of now, it's been a good thing. Initially, when you did a Microsoft Mesh event, and a lot of them, the screen share was not even there by default. So the fact that we've got it there now, we don't have to go and try and place it, is a good thing. Because it used to be, if you really forgot, one of the things you had to tell people is if you forgot to put in a screen share and everybody comes in, your meeting is essentially, you don't get screen share. So it's kind of nice that Microsoft's added in that ability out of the box. We don't have to go through and add it. So really cool there. One of the things they've added, is, so we've had these options for a while. Like as Galen mentioned, the text is a new option. Microsoft also has in some early previews the ability to actually include a web view as well. So you can actually embed web content is with that. With each one of these, you have the ability, you can make some adjustments. Close that. And if I click on each one of these, we can adjust different options here. One of the things that you can also do as well is you can also, as part of this, you can pre-stage a lot of these things. So say, for example, you want a video or an image to show up at a specific point in time, you can do that. You can also come in and make it so now it's no longer visible and nobody sees it until you're ready to make the big reveal as it is. We also have some different options to be able to change up some of the styling, but so you can do quite a bit. And like if you think about it, like even an image, the image a lot of times, since this is a three-dimensional space, sometimes people forget that an image or a video or any of those sort of things, we can stick it on the wall, we could stick it free floating in the air, or we can even stick it flat on the ground if we want to do some decorations. Like, hey, we want to put a logo, just kind of decorate the space on the ground. We can do that as well, or we can even, for that matter, we can put it on the ceiling. So we have a question there for, can you import a 3D object? Yes and no. So yes, you can, but then you have to kind of get into a fully custom developed space. At this point in time, just going through and doing the basic customizations through the Mesh app itself, there's not currently an option to import a 3D object, but Microsoft has tools and things that allows you to, through Unity, you can build out a fully customized space. And with that, yes, you can kind of import some different 3D objects into if you can import it into Unity, you can include it into your space.
And maybe as we only have a couple minutes left, we kind of transition to some of those topics. With Mesh, you can create a custom experience. And the SDK is out there. There's a lot of sample environments that you can download and begin to use that come with a lot of capability. So highly recommend dipping your toe in the water with those. And then of note, there's a lot of upcoming features that are scheduled to roll out as soon as November. Like I said, I've been waiting for whiteboards for some time. Ryan hears me complain about this all the time. The Mesh team has heard me talk about it. It's a feature I've been waiting for. And you talk about 3D objects. Well, even 2D objects like a whiteboard, that capability is scheduled at least as per the roadmap for a November release. So definitely check out some of these things. There's a lot of capability there, and you'll find that you can custom tailor an environment to meet your branding purposes, to meet maybe a training purpose that you might have. And this is a great way to bring people together, especially when they're separated by a large distance.
And one of the things as well is some of those spaces also really demonstrate really well. Besides just being a 3D space, there is also physics in these 3D spaces. I know, like in the immersive space, we had the ability, we can throw the bean bag, we can have different things. If I'm holding the marshmallow roaster, if I drop it, it drops. Though there are physics, they have one of the examples, and one of the samples they've got is that they call the science building, which has all different things about magnetism and gravity and different, like, planets rotate. You have a lot of cool stuff that you can actually do, but there is like a full physics engine built into it, so you can do some really cool stuff as you're going through it.
Yeah, pretty cool. We could have a meeting with zero gravity. Awesome. All right, so guess who created this slide? No whiteboard, but I'm happy to remove this. I just know that I oftentimes lead a lot of meetings, especially some design and architecture meetings, and having a whiteboard is going to be really cool. So not just like whiteboard capability, but like inking in general, and being able to integrate Copilot with that inking, all of that is right around the corner. So happy to see those capabilities upcoming, and going to be even happier to remove that from this slide.
Yeah. So one of the things as well, if you're in the immersive space within Teams, right now we can join, we can do our presentation through PowerPoint Live. Lots of benefits that way. Currently not there yet for, at least not that we've been able to find it, be able to make it work for the immersive space. So keep an eye on that. That hopefully should be coming soon. And then
All right, and yeah, there's room limits. I won't go into too much detail here, but there are some room limits, especially when you're in mesh. Some of those limits are increasing. If you have quite a few, if you have over 16 attendees coming in, then there might be more than one room. We really didn't have a chance to demo that, but just know that there can be multiple rooms, and each room has like a moderator, and you can broadcast your voice, like if you want to, and make an announcement across all the rooms. All of that capability is there, so definitely check that out. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and as we mentioned before, audio recording in the screen share area. Just make sure the audio, what you're recording, is only going to be recorded in the recording if you're in that screen share space.
No images in chat, so you can chat. We didn't really talk about that or demonstrate that, but you definitely can chat. Just you cannot add images to your chat messages
Yet. Yeah. A lot of the stuff that we said you
yet.
can't do,
Yet.
Microsoft's working on it, so some of these things are changing and coming out. So maybe by the time you watch this recording, or maybe even now, it could change. So there's a lot of things to keep in mind from that. So yeah, cannot admit people from the lobby. If you're in the meeting in an immersive space, there is still a Teams meeting lobby, but there's not an option to say, okay, I'm going to admit people. Somebody actually has to go through and do it from the actual Teams UI to be able to let them in.
Take advantage of co-organizers as an example. Really consider that role when you're working with immersive spaces.
All right,
and then lastly, background noise cancellation. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, so this is kind of more of like when you're in a lot of the spaces. If you're in the Teams app itself, background noise cancellation is background noise cancellation. It works in Teams. But this is kind of more for like if you're in the VR headset itself, which I have my headset here. We're going to do some demos, but through the sake of time, we're a little over as it is right now. So Ian and I both have brought them with us just so we can use them for the demo, but just I think due to timing, we're not gonna be able to include those parts for today. But yeah, those are one of those things that it's there. The background noise cancellation on the actual app on the headset is not as good as what you get on the native Teams, just because it's just not quite there yet. So all right, so I know since we're running low on time, key things just remember. Make sure you customize your environment. And like we said, you used to have to make sure, we still tell them just to make sure it's there. Make sure you fill out the add in a screen share control. Otherwise, you may have a meeting where you're just going to be talking to each other the whole time. Also, this has changed, so we can probably update this now. It used to be that if you shared your screen in the 3D space, you didn't see it. So now that's actually been fixed. So we can remove that one from the thing. Immersive spaces, this is one of those ones we didn't demo this time. There is the option so you can do a personal stage. So somebody is sharing their screen, instead of having to just see it on the wall, you can actually bring it up and size it so it's actually up close and personal, so you can see it and read things a lot better. And this is one of those things that really comes into play, especially with the VR headset. So that way you can actually see closer instead of having to physically walk right up to the screen to be able to see if it's got some small print. And then custom events, we got a lot of different samples, but we'll move on from there since we're time. At this point in time, I think we can kind of move on. We'll take some questions in the QA just that way in the chat here, if we have any, just so we can kind of pray and let the conference people go on. But yeah, thanks for joining us today. Here's our contact information if you want to get in touch with us. If you have any further burning questions about Mesh that come up that you think about afterwards, don't hesitate to reach out to us either on social or at our email addresses, and we'll be happy to respond and get back to you. So thank you for attending, everybody. And just the last slide, I know they put the form in there for feedback, but also please rate our session. This is how we and provide good feedback. If you like something, tell us about it. If you didn't like something, tell us about it. And please be descriptive. It's just, hey, the session was bad. Doesn't really help anybody get any better. So just be, if you like, if there's something you like, just hey, I love this. Cool. We'll read through these and we'll appreciate it. If there's something you didn't like, just say so as well, and then we can make some adjustments, and that way everybody benefits from it.